The wind tore through the jagged cliffs, shrieking like a creature alive. Kalen's hands slipped on the wet rock, and his heart jumped into his throat. Lightning split the sky above the alien planet, painting everything in harsh, stinging white. His refuge ship had gone down minutes ago, flames still clawing at the wreckage far below, and he had no one to call for help. Every muscle screamed, but he knew he had to keep moving. One wrong step and he would fall into the jagged abyss. He glanced down. The drop was impossibly steep, but a narrow ledge caught his eye. Kalen's mind raced. He ripped a length of cable from the wreckage, looping it around a jagged rock. "This has to hold," he muttered, testing it with a quick tug. The cable shivered but stayed. Swallowing fear, he climbed, his fingers burning and bloodied. Survival didn't wait for hesitation. A sudden roar cut through the storm, deep and guttural, shaking the cliffs. Kalen froze. Lightning revealed a massive shape crashing into the rocks across the chasm. His eyes widened as a winged creature staggered, its scales glowing faintly in the stormlight. It was bigger than any dragon he had ever seen in holograms or stories, its wings shredded and bleeding, one clawed foot pinned under a slab of rock. Yet it didn't move aggressively. It looked at him, and in that instant Kalen felt a strange pull, a mix of fear and recognition. Something in its eyes suggested intelligence, pain, and desperation. Kalen's instinct screamed, he had to act. Survival demanded action, not paralysis. He dropped the cable and sprinted along the ledge, using debris from the storm to wedge between the creature's trapped limb and the rock. "Hold on, just a little more," he whispered, his hands shaking. His small human strength was pitiful against the enormity of the dragon, but he refused to stop. With one final heave, the rock shifted, and the dragon let out a strangled roar that vibrated through Kalen's bones. Instead of striking, the creature flared its wings instinctively, sending a blast of wind that nearly knocked Kalen off the ledge. He gritted his teeth, planted his feet, and grabbed a jagged edge to stay upright. Then, without warning, the dragon's massive wings swept down over him, shielding him from a sudden lightning strike that hit the cliff behind. Sparks rained, debris tumbled, and Kalen felt the hair on his arms singe. The dragon had just saved his life. Kalen swallowed his awe. Why did you do that?" he asked aloud, voice barely audible over the storm. The dragon's eyes glowed brighter for a moment, and then it groaned in pain. It moved awkwardly, clearly trying to rise, but a jagged piece of the cliff had pierced its wing. Kalen's mind raced. Shelter was miles away, and even if he reached it, no human refuge would accept a dragon. Stories warned of colonies that shot unknown creatures on sight. But leaving it here would be death for both of them. With no other choice, Kalen ran toward the dragon, dragging his small pack of survival gear. He ripped a piece of his jacket and wrapped it around the wounded wing, knotting it as best he could. "It's okay. I've got you," he said. There was no sound of gratitude, but the dragon shifted slightly, letting him work. Kalen's heart hammered. Every movement of the massive creature above him could crush him, yet he refused to stop. A blast of wind nearly threw him off balance again. He gritted his teeth, holding on for dear life. "Almost there," he whispered. The dragon's scales shimmered with a strange, faint light whenever it shifted, and Kalen couldn't tell if it was pain or some strange energy radiating from it. He realized that the creature wasn't just big, it was unusual, maybe even ancient. Questions swirled in his mind. Where had it come from? Why was it here? And why had it saved a human, a fragile little thing in the storm? Suddenly, a crack echoed through the cliffside. Kalen looked up. Rocks above the dragon were loosening, threatening to bury both of them. He had only seconds. "Hold on," he shouted, and with every ounce of courage he pulled at the largest boulder, using leverage, strength, and whatever cleverness he could muster. The boulder shifted enough to give the dragon room to move. It flapped once, twice, and staggered upright, shaking off some of the storm's force. Kalen fell to the ground, panting, soaked, and trembling but alive. For a moment, silence fell. The storm still raged, lightning still cracked, but the dragon looked at him, tilting its massive head as if testing whether he could be trusted. Kalen, exhausted and trembling, dared a small smile. "I guess we're stuck together," he whispered. The dragon's glowing eyes seemed to narrow in understanding, or maybe curiosity. Then a sudden tremor shook the cliff harder than before. A section beneath them cracked and fell, and Kalen caught himself just in time. But the dragon roared, not in anger but as a warning. Kalen realized the cliff was unstable and they couldn't stay here. They had to move or both would die. Kalen swallowed his fear, gripping his pack straps. "Okay, let's go," he said. The dragon shifted its weight, spreading one massive wing in a protective arc over him, and together, they stepped toward the unknown path ahead. Neither knew where it led, only that survival demanded forward motion. And in the lightning-split sky, a strange shimmer glinted on the horizon, like a signal, or a threat, waiting for them. Kalen's heart thumped. He had no refuge. He had no allies. But he had a dragon. And somehow that was enough, for now. The cliff groaned beneath them, hinting at collapse. Kalen's next step would decide whether they survived or fell into darkness, and the storm whispered that the real danger was only beginning. Kalen woke to the sound of rain dripping steadily onto the jagged rocks around him. The storm had eased, but the cliffs were slick and treacherous. The dragon lay nearby, one massive wing bent awkwardly, scales glinting faintly in the dim light. It shifted occasionally, groaning softly, and Kalen's stomach clenched. Every colony, every refuge would turn them away. That much he already knew. But he refused to let the creature die, or himself. He scanned the jagged horizon. Smoke spiraled from the distant remains of the wrecked ship, a reminder of how little time he had. He tugged the makeshift sling around the dragon's wing, testing it. It held for now. The creature let out a low hiss, sending chills down his spine. Kalen swallowed his fear and stepped closer. "We need to keep moving," he said, voice steady. "There might be a refuge beyond that ridge. We just have to try." The climb was slow and exhausting. Kalen slipped several times, mud and rain soaking through his clothes. But each time he faltered, the dragon shifted slightly, nudging him with its nose as if encouraging him onward. Kalen realized it wasn't just protecting him, it trusted him. And that trust was heavier than any weight he'd ever carried. Hours passed. Exhaustion clawed at him and doubt whispered relentlessly. "Maybe they'll never accept us," he muttered. His mind ran through every story he had heard about dragon attacks, human colonies shooting first and asking questions later. But giving up wasn't an option. Not for him, not for the creature that had saved his life. When he crested a ridge, he saw it. A small human refuge nestled in a jagged valley. Smoke curled from chimneys, lights flickered behind reinforced walls. Relief surged, and Kalen sprinted down the slope, rain mixing with tears on his cheeks. "Please, please let them help us," he whispered. But as he reached the gates, alarms blared. Automated turrets pivoted, targeting the dragon instantly. Kalen skidded to a halt. "No. Wait. He's not dangerous," he shouted, waving his arms, heart hammering. The dragon growled low, instinctively shielding Kalen with its bulk. But the walls remained unyielding. The gate opened a sliver and a voice boomed over speakers. "Human child, dragon is forbidden. Leave now or face elimination." Kalen's stomach dropped. He had expected fear, but not this outright rejection. "We can't just leave him," he yelled. The dragon's wings shivered as if understanding his words. Kalen had no choice. He scanned the perimeter and spotted a side path, barely visible, partially collapsed. If he could reach it, maybe they could sneak past undetected. They moved cautiously, mud sucking at their boots and claws. A loose rock betrayed them, clattering down the slope. Kalen froze. The dragon's eyes snapped toward the sound, pupils narrow, muscles coiled. Kalen's heart raced. They were exposed. Yet the dragon stayed still, and Kalen realized something vital. It wasn't just following him, it was cooperating. He nodded, understanding their silent bond. The path narrowed. The dragon's injured wing scraped against rocks, eliciting a soft hiss. Kalen grabbed a jagged branch and wedged it beneath a rock, creating a small support to help shift its weight. Inch by inch they advanced. The storm's residual wind whipped against them, and lightning reflected off the clouds, illuminating the valley in brief, blinding flashes. Every step was perilous. As they neared the far side of the refuge, Kalen thought he heard something unusual, a clicking like metal against metal, faint but rhythmic. He froze. The dragon stiffened beside him. A patrol drone emerged from the shadows, scanning methodically. Its sensors glowed red. Kalen's pulse spiked. One wrong move and the drone would alert the refuge defenses. Thinking quickly, he grabbed a chunk of debris and tossed it to the side. The noise echoed, drawing the drone's attention. The dragon instinctively crouched low, hiding behind Kalen. The drone paused, then moved toward the noise. Kalen exhaled silently. "Good job," he whispered, and the dragon nudged him lightly with its snout. A small victory, but enough to keep hope alive. Finally, they reached a rocky overhang, overlooking a river that snaked through the valley. Kalen sank to the ground, exhausted, and examined the dragon. Its breathing was uneven, wings still bent. "I know it hurts," he said softly. but we'll get through this. He rummaged through his pack, finding a compact medkit and some basic anti-inflammatory compounds scavenged from the wreckage. Carefully he applied them to the torn membranes of the wing, working quickly but gently. The dragon shifted slightly but allowed it, its eyes never leaving him. Night fell, and the valley grew silent except for the soft murmur of water and the dragon's low breaths. Kalen leaned back against a rock, shivering. "They rejected us," he muttered, "but we survived, at least for now." He watched the dragon, marveling at its resilience. Despite being wounded, it had defended him, adapted to his guidance and, most surprisingly, trusted him completely. Then in the distance a faint glow appeared, pulsing on the horizon. Kalen's heart skipped a beat. It wasn't fire or lightning or anything he recognized. Something alien, strange and possibly dangerous was watching. The dragon's scales shimmered in response, light flickering across its massive wings. Kalen felt a chill run down his spine. "We're not alone," he whispered. The dragon's growl rumbled low, warning yet protective. Whatever lay ahead, he realized, was bigger than just surviving the storm, or escaping the refuge, or tending to a wounded dragon. Something else was out there, waiting and now aware of them. Kalen tightened his grip on the medkit and the jagged rocks around him. He had faced rejection, storms and danger before, but this was new. And for the first time since the crash, he understood that their journey, his and the dragon's, was just beginning. The pulsing glow grew brighter, flickering with an almost intelligent rhythm, and Kalen knew that whatever it was, it wouldn't let them go unnoticed. He swallowed hard, his mind racing. Survival alone wouldn't be enough this time, they would have to be clever, fast and brave. And then a shadow moved within the glow. Something large. Something alive. Kalen's heart leapt. The dragon's wing twitched, readying itself. And the night waited, holding its breath. The faint glow on the horizon pulsed steadily, like a heartbeat. Kalen squinted, trying to make sense of it. The dragon's scales reflected the light, shimmering in rhythm with the pulses. His stomach twisted with both fear and curiosity. Whatever it was, it wasn't natural. It wasn't a storm. It wasn't the refuge's automated defenses. It was something alive. Kalen gritted his teeth and nudged the dragon gently. "We have to know," he whispered, "even if it's dangerous." The creature tilted its massive head, eyes narrowing as if asking whether he was sure. Kalen nodded. "I'm sure." With that, he started down the slope, moving carefully to avoid loose rocks. The dragon followed, its injured wing tucked low, muscles trembling with effort, but trusting him to guide the way. As they drew closer, the glow intensified, revealing a clearing unlike anything Kalen had seen. Strange, crystalline structures jutted from the ground, humming faintly. The light seemed to pulse from within them, almost alive. The dragon growled softly, a low vibration Kalen could feel in his chest. He stopped, studying the structures. They weren't just rocks, they were machines. Or maybe both. Ancient, powerful, and completely unknown. A sudden snap of a branch made Kalen spin around. From the shadows of the crystalline spires, a figure emerged. Not human but vaguely humanoid, tall, slender, with limbs that bent in angles that seemed impossible. Its skin shimmered like mercury under the glow, and its eyes glowed an icy blue. It didn't speak, but Kalen felt its gaze pierce him. The dragon hissed and stepped in front of him, wings flaring slightly, a protective barrier. Kalen swallowed hard. He had faced storms, cliffs, and human rejection, but this was beyond anything he could have imagined. He clenched his fists and took a step forward. I don't mean harm," he said, voice steady despite the adrenaline surging through him. "We're just trying to survive." The creature tilted its head as if analyzing him, then suddenly darted forward. Kalen's heart skipped. The dragon lashed out instinctively, claws scraping the crystalline ground. Sparks flew and Kalen lunged to pull the creature back. The humanoid stopped abruptly, hovering a few feet away, then raised one arm. A wave of light pulsed outward, and the dragon froze mid-step, wings half raised. Kalen's stomach dropped. He realized the pulse was not attacking, it was scanning, observing. The creature wasn't hostile, yet it was assessing, judging, measuring them. Kalen took a deep breath. "Okay," he muttered, "we have to communicate." He searched his pack and found the small hollow emitter from the wreckage. With trembling hands he activated it, projecting a simple pattern of light and sound, a human signal for peace. The humanoid's eyes glowed brighter. It shifted almost imperceptibly as if responding. The dragon huffed softly, wings trembling, and Kalen realized he had a moment to act. "Look," he said, raising a hand. We saved each other. We don't want to fight. Please, help us. His voice cracked, but he held his ground. The creature hesitated, then lowered its arm, and the pulse of light softened. Kalen exhaled sharply. Small victory, but crucial. The dragon's wings drooped slightly, relaxing just enough to let him approach. Then he noticed it, a symbol etched into the crystal spires, faint but unmistakable. It matched the dragon's scales. His mind raced. Could it be the dragon's people? The creature had led him here. Not by accident. Kalen's pulse quickened. If this place was connected to the dragon species, it could explain why the creature had saved him in the storm. It might even be a sanctuary. Kalen moved closer to the spire, careful to keep his hand visible, showing no threat. The humanoid mirrored him, slowly. Then the crystal pulsed again, brighter this time, and a doorway opened within the structure, revealing a dim corridor lined with more glowing symbols. The light reflected off the dragon's scales, illuminating patterns Kalen had never seen. Ancient, intelligent, and deliberate. The dragon nudged him, and Kalen felt a surge of courage. We go together, he whispered. The humanoid stepped aside, letting them enter. Inside, the air hummed with energy, and Kalen felt a strange warmth, not heat but awareness, almost like the place itself was alive and watching. The dragon's wings fluttered slightly in response, and Kalen realized they were not alone in here. Not yet, at least. As they moved deeper, Kalen noticed faint etchings along the walls, stories, histories of dragons and humans long ago. Battles, alliances, betrayals. The dragon species had once protected human colonies, Kalen realized, and humans had once trusted them. Until something had gone wrong. His heart pounded. Could they restore that trust? Could he even help the dragon heal its wing in a place this alien? A sudden tremor shook the floor. Crystals rattled. The dragon roared, a deep, vibrating sound that made the walls hum. Kalen's stomach jumped. Something had activated deeper inside the structure. Something massive, something alive. The light pulses grew faster, brighter, and the air vibrated with power. The humanoid hissed a warning, its body coiling as if ready to strike or flee. Kalen gritted his teeth. We can't run. Not now. We have to see this through. He glanced at the dragon, who lowered its head slightly, trusting him. Together they pressed forward, each step deliberate, cautious, but determined. The corridor widened, revealing a massive chamber filled with crystalline machinery, pulsing with energy. At its center lay a device, glowing almost like a heart, large enough to power a city or destroy one. Kalen's breath caught. The pulses weren't random, they were a signal, a call. And it was calling to the dragon. The creature stirred, eyes glowing brighter, wings twitching in recognition. Kalen realized the pulse, the glow, the humanoid, it all pointed to something far bigger than him, bigger than survival. Something ancient and powerful, waiting for them to uncover it. A sharp crack echoed through the chamber. The floor beneath them trembled violently, and the glow of the device flared, bathing the walls in blinding light. Kalen grabbed the dragon's massive neck, holding on tight. Hold on, he shouted. The dragon roared in response, protective, ready. And then the light dimmed slightly, revealing something even more shocking. A figure moving within the glow, enormous, unrecognizable, yet unmistakably alive. Its eyes fixed on them, and Kalen felt a chill run down his spine. This was no ordinary sanctuary. This was a place of power. A place with secrets that could change everything. And whatever it was, it had just noticed them. The chamber shook violently as the glowing figure emerged from the crystalline heart. Kalen's stomach churned, his hands gripping the dragon's scales, every muscle tensed. The creature towered over them, wings like blades of light, its eyes glowing with a strange intelligence that made Kalen feel simultaneously small and seen. He swallowed hard. This was no ordinary beast, no relic of a forgotten world. This was something alive, ancient, and aware, and it was studying them. The dragon shifted protectively, one massive wing flaring in a defensive arc. Kalen felt the wind push against him, almost knocking him off balance, but he stayed upright. He knew fear could paralyze him. And he couldn't afford that, not now. Not with this much at stake. He glanced at the device pulsing at the center of the chamber. Its light surged rhythmically, almost like it had a heartbeat. The pulses seemed to react to the dragon's presence, flickering faster as the dragon moved closer. Something deep inside Kalen clicked. This place, this device, the creature, they were all connected. The glowing figure tilted its head, and Kalen realized it was communicating, not with words but with pulses of energy, subtle shifts in the air, patterns of light that brushed against his mind. He could feel it probing for intent, for truth. He swallowed again and stepped forward, raising one hand. "We don't want to fight," he said. His voice shook slightly, but there was determination in it. "We only want to survive, and to help." The figure pulsed in response, brighter this time. The dragon lowered its head slightly, nudging Kalen. The gesture was subtle but reassuring. Kalen's heart surged with hope. "We can do this," he whispered. "Together." A sudden rumble shook the floor. Crystals along the walls vibrated and cracked. Kalen's pulse spiked. He realized the figure was reacting, or perhaps warning them. The device at the chamber's center surged violently, beams of light stabbing toward the ceiling. The dragon hissed, wings flaring instinctively. Kalen gritted his teeth. The chamber wasn't just a place, it was a mechanism, a sentinel. One wrong move could trigger something catastrophic. Kalen's mind raced. He needed to act, not just react. His eyes darted to the device. It seemed to respond to the dragon, pulses syncing with its heartbeat. If he could stabilize the interaction, maybe he could prevent a disaster. Using the knowledge he'd gleaned from salvage tech, Kalen grabbed a fragment of the crystalline spire, rigging it to redirect some of the energy pulses. Sparks flew and he stumbled backward, nearly falling. The dragon nudged him forward, urging him to continue. The figure pulsed angrily, brighter than before, almost blinding. Kalen felt pain radiate in his skull, but he pressed on, adjusting the spire fragments, channeling the energy away from the walls and toward the center device. Slowly, the pulses began to stabilize, syncing with the dragon's movements. The glowing figure hesitated, watching. Kalen realized the creature wasn't attacking. They were testing him, probing for courage, intelligence, and intent. A sharp screech echoed through the chamber. One of the walls cracked further, and shards of crystal fell toward them. Kalen yanked the dragon aside just in time. The creature's eyes met his, and Kalen saw trust, fear, and determination reflected there. They weren't just allies, they were partners. And partners had to act decisively. He risked a step closer to the glowing figure. "We can work together," he shouted over the rumble. "We can fix this." The dragon growled in agreement, wings beating, sending a gust of wind that flicked the crystal shards harmlessly aside. The chamber pulsed, brighter now, as if acknowledging their resolve. Then came the unexpected pattern interrupt. The floor beneath the dragon cracked in a massive fissure, glowing with the same pulsing energy as the central device. Kalen realized the chamber was unstable, ready to collapse. He acted without hesitation. "Move," he shouted. The dragon leapt forward, lifting Kalen in a sweep of its massive wing. Sparks and shards rained down, and the central device surged violently, but Kalen kept adjusting the crystalline fragment he carried, keeping the energy flow stable. They landed on a narrow ledge at the far side of the chamber. The dragon's wing throbbed in pain, but it held Kalen steady. The glowing figure paused, then tilted slightly as if acknowledging their success. Kalen felt a surge of triumph, small but real. They had survived, stabilized the device, and proven themselves, not just to the ancient guardian but to themselves. Kalen knelt beside the dragon, inspecting the wing. It was still injured, but the pulse of the chamber seemed to soothe it, the energy interacting with the dragon's physiology in a way Kalen couldn't explain. He murmured softly, "We did it, at least for now." The dragon lowered its head, letting him touch the scales along its neck, a gesture of gratitude and trust. But the victory was fleeting. A sudden tremor rattled the chamber again, deeper and more violent this time. The central device pulsed wildly, beams of light arcing across the walls. Kalen's eyes widened. "It's not done," he whispered. The glowing figure bristled, emitting sharp pulses of light. Kalen realized they had triggered something far bigger, something awake and aware, reacting to their presence. The dragon shifted, readying itself. Kalen stood beside it, gripping his makeshift tools, mind racing. They had faced storms, cliffs, hostile refuges, and strange humanoids, but this was different. This was a force beyond comprehension. And it had just acknowledged them. Kalen's chest tightened, adrenaline pumping. "We can't back down," he muttered. "We have to see this through." The dragon roared, a deep sound that echoed through the chamber. Kalen mirrored its determination. Together, they stepped toward the pulsing heart of the chamber, toward the unknown challenge that awaited. The device flared one last time, casting shadows that danced across the walls. Within those shadows, Kalen glimpsed something massive moving, something far larger than the glowing figure itself. He swallowed hard. Whatever it wasn't just watching, they were next. And as the chamber trembled around them, Kalen realized the true test was only beginning. The next move would decide whether they survived, whether the bond between human and dragon could hold against the impossible. And whatever was stirring in the shadows, it was alive, waiting, and hungry for them. Kalen's heart pounded as he and the dragon faced the pulsing heart of the chamber. The glowing device throbbed like a living thing, radiating energy that hummed through the floor, walls, and even the air itself. Shadows danced across the crystalline structures, shifting in shapes that made Kalen's stomach twist. He could feel the power beneath his feet, a force ancient and immense, capable of destroying everything, or granting life. The dragon shifted beside him, wings trembling but steady, protecting him with a presence that made Kalen feel both small and invincible. "We've come too far to turn back," he whispered. "Whatever this is, we face it together." The creature's eyes glimmered in response, understanding him more than any human ever could. Kalen took a deep breath and stepped forward, hands raised to show he meant no harm. The chamber responded immediately. Pulses of light shot toward him, weaving around his body like ribbons of electricity. Kalen froze, expecting pain, but instead he felt a subtle warmth. The energy was scanning, assessing his courage, his intent, his humanity. His mind raced. He remembered every choice he had made, helping the dragon in the storm, tending its wounded wing, protecting it from the Refuge's defenses, trusting the unknown humanoid. Every act of empathy, intelligence, and courage had brought him here. And now it mattered. Kalen focused on the dragon beside him. "We're not just survivors," he said aloud. "We're allies, friends, and we won't fail." The dragon lowered its massive head, nudging him gently. Kalen realized then that the bond they shared, trust, loyalty, courage, was visible to the device. It was measuring more than strength or danger. It was measuring humanity. A sudden rumble shook the chamber violently, and a fissure opened near the device. Blue-white energy arced into the air, striking shards of crystal that shattered and fell around them. Kalen's pulse spiked. The dragon let out a roar, shielding him with its wings. Kalen dodged falling debris, grabbing a chunk of crystal to steady himself. This was the climax, the impossible moment where one mistake could cost them everything. He studied the device. Its central core pulsed faster, synchronizing with the dragon's heartbeat. An idea sparked in his mind, dangerous, risky, but perhaps the only way forward. Kalen raised the fragment of crystal and positioned it to redirect the energy pulses, channeling the device's power into a contained loop. Sparks flew, arcs of light slicing across the chamber, but the pulse steadied. The dragon hissed in surprise, wings beating to stabilize the shifting energy. Together, human and dragon worked in silent, perfect coordination. A sudden screech echoed, and the glowing figure, the humanoid, appeared at the edge of the chamber. Its eyes glimmered in approval or maybe acknowledgement. Kalen realized that the figure had been guiding them subtly all along, testing their courage and intelligence. The chamber pulsed in response, softer now, as though the ancient force recognized their effort. Kalen let out a shaky breath. "It's working," he whispered. The dragon's injured wing trembled but held, responding to the energy in a way Kalen didn't fully understand. He realized then that this place, the device, the crystals, the ancient humanoid, was a sanctuary designed to heal and protect, not destroy. The dragon's scales shimmered brighter, infused with the chamber's energy. It flexed its wings, testing them. For the first time since the crash, Kalen saw a spark of freedom in the dragon's eyes. Kalen's emotions surged. He had survived storms, rejection, and near death. He had protected a creature no one else cared about. And now, in this alien, incomprehensible place, he had made a difference. The bond between human and dragon had not only survived, it had strengthened, shining brighter than any crystal around them. But even as relief washed over him, Kalen sensed the pulse of the chamber shifting again. Not in anger this time, but in warning. The artifact at the center glowed brighter than ever, and within its light, he glimpsed shapes moving, larger than the dragon, massive forms just beyond comprehension. Kalen swallowed hard. Whatever this force was, it was alive and it was awake. The dragon nudged him, growling softly as if saying, "We can face it." Kalen nodded, heart steady despite the fear. "We will," he whispered. "Together." He realized that this sanctuary was only the beginning. There were mysteries, dangers, and challenges beyond anything he had faced. But he also knew that courage, intelligence, and compassion, the very qualities that had brought him this far, would guide him forward. Kalen stepped closer to the artifact, touching the crystal surface cautiously. Light rippled outward, illuminating etched patterns on the walls, scenes of dragons and humans in alliance long ago. Betrayals, battles, victories. He understood now. Humans had once been partners to these creatures, protectors and friends. And the dragon beside him, wounded yet steadfast, was the living proof of that legacy. A sudden pulse shot from the artifact, and a holographic projection flickered in the center of the chamber. A map of stars, planets, and unknown territories. Kalen's eyes widened. The signal was not local. It was galactic. And it was calling. The dragon growled low, sensing the magnitude of what they had uncovered. Kalen clenched his fists, excitement and fear mingling. They had stabilized the chamber, earned the trust of the ancient forces and survived the impossible. But this map, this signal, hinted at something far larger. Civilizations, secrets, and dangers yet to come. Kalen looked down at the dragon. "We've done it," he said softly. "We've survived, and maybe we've started something bigger." The dragon nudged him, wings spreading fully in a display of strength and freedom. The bond between them was undeniable, unbreakable. The dragon roared triumphantly, echoing through the chamber, shaking loose the last remnants of fear. Outside, the stars twinkled as if aware. Somewhere beyond the sanctuary, other forces were stirring, watching, waiting. Kalen knew this was not the end, it was the beginning of a new journey. One where humans and dragons could stand together, facing impossible odds, shining brighter than the universe itself. He straightened, eyes on the map flickering before him. "Whatever's out there," he whispered, "we'll face it. Together." The dragon's wings beat once, lifting slightly off the ground. The chamber hummed in response, and a distant glow pulsed on the horizon, a signal that something ancient and immense had awakened. Kalen's heart raced with anticipation. They had survived storms, rejection, and the unknown, but the real adventure, the real test, was just beginning. And in that moment, Kalen knew one thing with absolute certainty. Humanity, courage, and compassion could face even the universe's oldest, most powerful mysteries, and prevail. The stars above flickered as if in approval, and the chamber whispered of the challenges to come. The next chapter was waiting.